Well, it's still difficult to know who is behind this attack. Nobody claimed responsibility for this airstrike. The Rapid Support Forces said that it was an airstrike from the military, and it's most likely true, even if they did not confirm that. Why? Because since the beginning of the fighting on the 15th of April, fighter jets belonging to the army have been flying over Khartoum and have been bombing several areas of the capital. And why do they do that? Well, because the Rapid Support Forces are still in civilian neighborhoods. They are looting houses, they are assaulting civilians, and they are hiding in these houses. So that's why the military are targeting these civilian neighborhoods, which has a huge impact on the civilian population, killing and injuring many. We know that the fighting continued today in the capital, mostly around the presidential palace and in the city of Omdurman, which is Khartoum neighboring city located on the other bank of the Nile River. That's for the capital, but the fighting also continued in the city of El Obeid in North Kordofan. South Kordofan as well has been affected, such as the Darfur region, even if it's very difficult to know what exactly is the situation in Darfur at the moment, because most of the telecommunication infrastructures have been destroyed by the clashes. We know that clashes occurred during the past days in the cities of Nyala and El Fashir, which are two of the main cities in the Darfur region, and in El Janina and in Zalinji, two cities where there is no fighting between the army and the Rapid Support Forces. We know that the Rapid Support Forces and local militias are targeting civilians. In the city of El Janina, local NGOs and local human rights defenders say that there are ethnic cleansing ongoing. They say that local militias and Rapid Support Forces members have killed thousands of people already since the beginning of the clashes.
It's a huge death toll coming out of this 3 months of conflict in Sudan. Bastien, the humanitarian situation, meanwhile, is dire. This much we know. Many thousands of Sudanese have been displaced. What else do we know in terms of the conditions that people are living in currently?
Well, as you say, the situation is dire and it's getting worse every day. So already 2.2 million people have been displaced within Sudan. 600,000 have been displaced outside of the country in neighboring countries such as Chad, South Sudan, Ethiopia or Egypt. In these countries, they can get help from international NGOs, from the United Nations. But within Sudan, it's more difficult. I've been speaking to several NGOs directors who are based here in Nairobi and who are trying to go to Sudan, and it's still very difficult for them to get visas. And once they reach Port Sudan, the humanitarian hub in the country at the moment, it's very difficult for them to dispatch their workers, to dispatch the humanitarian assistance, mostly because the most affected areas are almost inaccessible. In Khartoum, it's possible to reach people from time to time, but the fighting are very intense and it's still very difficult for them. And in North Kordofan, in Darfur, it's almost impossible. So millions of people are still stranded in the main cities without food, without water. Many need medical assistance, but more than 70% of the hospitals in these areas have been destroyed or are currently occupied by armed forces. So as you understand, the situation is dire for these civilians. That's why it's very important to have a ceasefire in Sudan. That's why negotiations are still ongoing. That's why many mediations efforts are ongoing, but so far it does not work, even if it's very urgent for all these civilians still stranded in the most affected areas.